Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome. I have had a garden here for many years. Even before we lived here, I had a garden in Illinois, and I'm still very much learning. But one thing I did that was a little different this year was I added a lot more flowers. So I'm wanting to go in the garden this morning and pick a bunch of flowers that I've grown and put them in a vase for the kitchen. In previous years, we've had some issues getting pollinators into our garden to help grow our vegetables. So that was one of the main reasons why we added a bunch more flowers this year. Also because I wanted to kind of add more of a cut flower garden. So we have flowers throughout all of the beds, and then the ones that I was just cutting, those are wildflowers that we planted along the outside of the garden. We put them in little wood boxes because my older two, they often help mow the grass, and I was afraid that they would mow them down. We still have various areas where my husband and my kids will often not realize that it's a plant growing, and so I wanted to be sure that that was a spot that they could clearly see was marked as flowers. Before we get to what we're working on in today's video, I wanted to share with you something that we were all really excited about. So I've mentioned before that we grew potatoes, and this was the method I grew them in. I saw somewhere on the internet, probably like Facebook, there was someone that planted potatoes in one of these laundry baskets, and I was pretty intrigued about that. I have never grown potatoes before, and bear with me that my daughter was messing with the camera at this point, so it's a little off and on the potatoes there. But anyway, we had grown the potatoes, and it was kind of a whole family event. We did them before my surgery even. And so we layered them according to what I had seen on Facebook in this laundry basket, and they completely took off. I was so excited about it. So because this was my first year growing potatoes, I didn't do too many. We layered them with some soil in the basket and then the seeds, and then we mulched up some leaves throughout our yard, and that is what we used in replace of hay. So anyway, it was not a big batch, but because we had all kind of taken our time and helped put all of these in and planted them and everything at the beginning of the season, we were all really excited to see how they turned out. So my daughter, she was over here helping gather them and put them in the basket and stuff. And even so, the boys, they were even really excited about it, but they were swimming at the time. And so as we were walking out to the garden, they were like, "Oh, if there's anything, let me see. I'm so excited." So it was a whole family event getting our potatoes, and it's not very much, but it was very rewarding. And now I'm excited moving forward too, because now I know exactly how to do it. I know what I'm looking for, so I can plant many more in the seasons to come. We are going to finish gathering these up. I'm going to take them inside and wash them, and then we're going to head right back outside. It's going to be a different day, and I'm going to share with you a project that I recently just started. Oh, and speaking of the garden, so one thing I wasn't sure that was actually going to come back this year was our elephant ears. Look how big they are. They are just giant. I actually should measure them. They're not as big as last year, but they are coming back in abundance. Okay, so this was what we are going to be working on today. We recently, well, not really we, my husband recently put together these wood pillars outside. They are covering some aluminum pillars that were out here, and I think they're just like the aluminum was wrapping like these poles. So anyway, we just put over top wood. We went back and forth, and I did share this in a previous video, this project of him putting it together, but we went back and forth for a couple of years now. We knew we wanted to cover these. We weren't really sure what we wanted to do. And one of our biggest obstacles that we were finding was actually having like large enough pieces of wood to go around the aluminum. So we ended up figuring out that we just weren't going to be able to find the big enough pieces of wood, especially in our budget. And so what we did was we went with smaller pieces of wood and we just wrapped them around it. So my husband did that in a previous video, and I am going in and staining them. Now, I wish that I could share the label. I should have got a video before I opened it and everything of what I'm actually using. I'm using a stain and seal, and I wanted a dark color. I didn't really want it to have a lot of red tint to it, and I found that the ones that I was looking at, it was so much like red tint, and I really did not want that. We have a red roof on our house, and I feel like if I added red tint to like the wood, I just felt like it would be too weird looking. So I wanted to do something a little darker. I also wanted to use this on a couple different areas around our house. So this is not the first time you will be seeing this color, but a few different projects that we plan on working on here soon, we're going to be using this stain. So anyway, I can't share with you. Next time I end up buying a gallon of this, I will share what one I used and the color and everything. But when I was opening this, it was not at all what I was expecting. And it was just a huge mess. It got everywhere. It spilled all over the sides of the container. So I would not be able to share it even if I wanted to, because it completely coated it. So next time I pull one of these out, I will share with you what I bought, because like I said, we're planning on doing the pergola in this color. I'm considering doing like touch-ups and stuff. I don't know. I'm wanting to like redo some doors and stuff. So I thought about, if I went that far with redoing doors, that I will also use this. We have a whole project planned for the backyard, a porch area, and I will probably tie this stain in with it. And then before I started YouTube, we actually redid our front balcony on the front of the house, and I believe we never ended up staining it or painting it. Again, it's like we go back and forth with paint colors and never can decide. We're so indecisive when it comes to paint colors. I don't know why, because to me, it always feels so permanent. And then like my husband has to explain to me like, no, it is not permanent. We can always redo it. So I don't know why I struggle so bad with paint, but I always do. So when we redid our front balcony, we never painted it, never stained it, because we did not know where we were wanting to go with it at the time. But now that I've done these beams, I'm pretty sure that I want to do this the same exact color. And you know what I was thinking of doing so recently? I think in a couple videos I've brought up how I've used ChatGPT and put in like different pictures of my house, either inside or outside. I kind of done it a couple of different times, but I've put in pictures to see how it turns out. And I didn't end up doing it with these beams because after we put them up, I really knew the direction I wanted to go, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to put in the pictures for like the front of the house to see how I like the balcony this color. So I think that's what I'll do. If I end up doing that, I will share how the pictures turn out from ChatGPT, and then how the whole finished product turns out whenever we're done with it. I've talked before about how our house, when we bought it, we had bought it from a flipper in the area. He's very well known. He owns a lot of properties and he flips a lot of houses. And this was one of them that he was actually living in, and I think that's kind of what he does, where he'll buy a house, he like lives in it for a short period of time. And during the time that he's living in it, his whole team goes in and flips this house. So, and then he ends up selling it, and it's just something that, he does in this area, I guess. So our house is one of the houses that they flipped. I feel like a lot of the houses that are flipped, like that I know of or that I've lived in, because even before this house, we lived in a house that was flipped up in Illinois. And I personally feel like, and this could just be my opinion, but I feel like those houses aren't done, they're like rushed and they're not done 100%. So I feel like you always have some kind of projects. And I feel like since living in this house, we have had just so many projects that we're wanting to fix, work on, stuff like that. And a lot of them I feel like are kind of like redoing or fixing the things that they had done before us, which I am totally fine with that, because I also am one of those people that I like making the house my own. And I really like, just working on it and doing house projects. So I'm totally fine with that. It's just usually the surprises that we find along the way and having to kind of figure out how to fix the issues that we encounter. Okay, so here is how this one turned out. I didn't do like the very, very bottom or the very, very top because we're adding trim. So I didn't do that. This was a lot different than I was expecting it to be. It was almost like a really thick paint, and I was expecting more of a stain, but I'm assuming because it has the sealer in it, it's thicker. So anyway, I went ahead and after I painted it on with a paintbrush, I wiped it with a rag, and that gave it more of the effect I was looking for, because before it was super thick. I don't know if you can even tell, but it was like you couldn't tell that it was even wood. It was just like straight paint. I wanted to be able to see the wood markings and stuff. So anyway, we're also going to be putting a protective thing over top of it, but this is how it turned out. I'm really happy with the color. And now I just have to do that one. It's supposed to rain later this afternoon. I'm not sure if that's true though. It seems like our weather changes hour by hour, maybe even 20-minute by 20 minutes. So I'm not sure if it's still going to rain, but if it does, I do want to knock this one out pretty quickly before that. So I want to get that done, and then eventually I'm wanting to do our pergola. I'll probably wait until after like 4th of July when I have like all my decor and stuff down, and then get in there and stain and seal that. We have had that up for, I want to say like 3 years now, and our intentions were to actually like either stain it or paint it. We never really knew what we wanted to do. I think I'm just going to do the same stain. So I think we'll just continue this over there. And another thing I want to do is go in and touch up these doors. When I bought the paint, well, and this is another thing, like Ted, he scratches our door, so it definitely needs touched up, but it might be kind of hard to see too. When I got this paint, I think I did this like 2 years ago, and the paint is like purpley color. It's supposed to be black, and I don't even remember the color I got, but it took me a while to pick out, and then once I painted it on, it was really purple, and then in the right light, it looks purple still. So I'm wanting to change that out, and then like I said, it needs touched up and stuff anyway, so that needs done. But anyway, let's finish this pillar before the rain comes. Going back to the discussion about our house being a flipper's house, so all of that to say that we have a bunch of projects, a bunch of things that I'm wanting to fix and touch up, and just they're all very little projects. Well, I also do have some big ones. I feel like my brain is always turning, and so I'm always like coming up with new things that I'm wanting to do. And I've talked a lot recently about fixing the 1% of our house, and that's really one of my biggest focuses right now. So that is something that I just plan on slowly working in over time and sharing with you along the way. So this is another one of those 1% projects that I'm just marking off my list and just making my house that 1% better. A lot of those 1% projects are just like little projects that you probably have been putting off for quite a while. In the video that I posted of my husband building these wood pillars, I discussed that we had been planning these for quite a while, probably years, probably since we first moved in. And one of the main reasons why we were actually wanting these wood pillars, and we had like temporary wood pillars up, was because we got Ted when we first moved into this house. And if you've been here a while, you know that he is kind of destructive. He's somewhat grown out of that now that he's not so much of a puppy, but he at first was very destructive. And one of the things that he would do would he would tear up the concrete and try to like eat it around these pillars. So that was one reason why we went ahead and we put up like the temporary things at the bottom, because we wanted to cover those areas and deter him from actually like tearing it up and making it really, really bad. So that is why we did that. And then from that point, we always knew that we were going to put up pillars, but we just, like I said, it was one of those projects that we just kept putting off, and I'm really, really glad that we finally have put it together, and I love how they turned out. So I've been sitting here just kind of chatting with you the whole time and not really explaining the process of what I'm doing here. So what I am doing is I was painting on the stain and sealer, and then like I said, it wasn't really what I was expecting. So at first I ended up painting the inside portion because I'm like, well, if it turns out really bad, at least we're the only ones that can see it and we will fix it. So I started on the inside of the pillars for that reason, and at first I kind of panicked and I turned the camera off. I called my husband because I was like, it is not what I was expecting. It is really thick. It is basically like paint, and I don't like how it looks. And he works construction. He is literally like used to dealing with paint and stain and all this stuff on a daily basis. So he was able to talk me off, the ledge. And he's like, you know what, just get a rag and wipe it. That is what we do here at the shop. We paint it on and then we wipe it off, and that will give the effect that you're looking for. So that is what you're seeing me do. It was very, very thick, so I'm only doing half of the pillar at a time. I do the top half of one side, and then I stop, I get the rag, and I wipe it off, and then I do the bottom half, and again, just repeat the process. So I was using the same rag per pillar, so I had just one rag. Honestly, I feel like it would be better with more than one rag, but my hands were just covered in it at this point, and I was tired of wandering inside. So what I was doing was I was taking the rag and pushing down a lot of it, and then the areas that I had not painted and gone over yet, I was kind of wiping off the excess in those areas. So I'm just finishing up now, but that was the process of which I did it. And like I said, I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I do plan on using this throughout our other projects here in the future. I was really hoping that we would be able to get the trim up on these pieces in this video, but we unfortunately did not. We have so much going on. So my birthday is the 1st of July. My daughter's is the 2nd of July. And then every year we host a really large annual 4th of July party. So the first week of July is just insane. And the week before, like the weeks leading up to it, are kind of pretty busy too. We are trying to get, little things done here and there. And this was one of the things that I was wanting to get painted before the 4th of July party. Not like it really mattered. No one's going to care. I don't even know if anyone will notice, but that was something that I wanted to check off of my mental box before the party. So that is what we were doing. I think we probably will be able to get the, trim up before the party, but I probably won't end up sharing that. I'm actually going back and forth with how much I'm actually going to share about the 4th of July. I just have so much going on and I don't know how much I'll be able to record. I'm curious though if that is something you guys want to see. Are you curious about the setup and food and all that kind of stuff of 4th of July? Because if that is something you guys are interested in, then I will definitely make time to share that. Just let me know in the comments below. So anyway, this is how they turned out, the wood beams, and I am pretty excited. This was exactly the color that I had imagined in my head. So the fact that I was able to get that done the first time is mind-blowing to me, because usually I have said so many times I can never get the paint right, or at least not the first time around. Really quickly before we wrap things up, I wanted to share our fishing trip and just we've been spending a lot of evenings over here. So this is just right around the corner from our house. This is the small pond, and then I'm going to take you off the little beaten path to a larger pond that is right on the other side of the woods from our house. I've shared a lot of pictures on Instagram recently of the fish that we caught and just us going and spending the evenings in the spring fishing. It's just so nice and relaxing. So a lot of the evenings we will come right before the sun goes down and head over here. A lot of times the kids come with us and we just make, an hour of it, sometimes 2, and just sit here as the sun goes down and fish. And it has been one of my favorite things here recently, which is kind of funny because I have never been a fisherman. Like, I've never enjoyed that at all until recently. And so now I am totally into it. And my husband, he gets like all the baits and stuff for me. And it has been really, really fun and something that I've really enjoyed doing with our family. So this is one of the evenings that my husband and I just snuck off by ourselves and were able to catch the sunset and get some fishing in. And it was really super nice. I just caught something that I don't feel like I've ever really noticed. So in the top left corner of the screen, you can barely see it, but that is the clubhouse. It has a red roof and a siding that is just like ours. I never really realized how much it mimicked our house, which, like I said, the guy that owned our house, he has been in this area a really long time. He is a very avid golfer in the area, and part of the time he actually runs the clubhouse. So I'm thinking maybe he had something to do with the exterior of our house too, because I'd never realized how much it looked just like our house. But anyway, that is all for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.